In the wake of the new Change of Domination cinematic, I want to talk a bit about vengeance in World of Warcraft. Seeking vengeance is usually painted as a route to corruption on oneself in almost every vengeance story, not just in World of Warcraft. It's such an old trope that even my main man Jesus and Confucius had remarks how self-destructive pursuit of vengeance is. I should clarify that when I mean vengeance in this context, I mean almost fanatic pursuit of justice. In Warcraft, we have no short supply of this trope, including but not limited to Arthas Menethil, Kaltas Sunstrider, Maiev Shadowsong, Sylvanas Windrunner, Uther Lightbringer in Shadowlands, Night Warrior Tyrande, and those are just the big ones. All of them, except one which we will talk about later, ultimately led to self-destruction and clouding of their judgment when delivering their justice. Vengeance can be satisfying for a moment, but at the end you either live as a monster, pledge your servitude to an ever greater evil, or the worst of all, realize that you have nothing else to live for. Sylvanas' realization at the top of the Ice-Crown Citadel during the end of Wrath of the Lich King and the following suicide attempt, I guess it wasn't an attempt because it technically worked. Death is weird in Warcraft, and would have been a great end to her character, if a bit problematic, which I don't have time to get into. Forgiveness usually goes hand in hand with revenge or vengeance stories or characters. So let's talk about that in context of the new World of Warcraft cinematic by our hand. Bit backstory if you're not familiar. So Sylvanas committed a teensy-weensy war crime by massacring 90% of the Night Elf population on Teldrassil. In wake of this tragedy, Tyrande took ritual that transformed her to a Night Warrior, being with near godlike powers. Tyrande was ready to seek revenge for Teldrassil, in essence kill Sylvanas, nothing else matters. But you need to know that during Shadowlands we encounter other people who have taken this power, and it has always consumed the user by making them clouded in their vengeance and judgment and tearing themselves apart after prolonged use. During Night Fae campaign, Tyrande refused the aid to try and cure her from this curse, since vengeance for Teldrassil was more important for her. I just realized writing this that there are a lot of parallels between Tyrande and Sylvanas during Warcraft 3 and Wrath of the Lich King. After the end of all this, we have cured Tyrande from this curse, and the cinematic plays after this feat. Overall, it's a well-done cinematic with more reveals about Elune, the Night Elf goddess, and her powers, and also what comes next for Tyrande and the Night Elves. First, let's talk about Tyrande, since we spent some time talking about vengeance already. Elune commented about Tyrande, she must choose vengeance or renewal, which to me obviously reads either blind pursuit of revenge or forgiveness, and making peace with yourself. This is what makes her arc stand out from other similar revenge stories in Warcraft. It is an interesting dilemma for Tyrande. Can you even begin to forgive someone like Sylvanas after all that has happened? But what point is there to continue in pursuit of revenge? Justice may come to Sylvanas, but that won't bring anyone back to life and might not even give her any satisfaction or closure. I'm interested in finding out what the writers have in store for us. Personally, I feel that Tyrande attempting to forgive would make a more mature story at least. And I mean not to forgive Sylvanas, but herself. To me, achieving revenge is more satisfying at least, but usually less interesting storytelling. Also, bit of a side note, Tyrande choosing forgiveness over vengeance doesn't mean justice won't come to Sylvanas. How do you people miss this? It couldn't be any more obvious unless you are intentionally trying to miss the point. Secondly, let's talk about Elune. What this cinematic confirms is that Elune is not an omnipotent goddess and never has been, unlike some people claim. She can only really interact with her followers and worshippers by blessings and guidance during transition to afterlife. She is also not an omniscient goddess, since she didn't know what was causing the drought or that there even was a drought in Shadowlands before hearing her sister's prayers. She shows compassion, regret and determination in under a minute, and it's great. She feels human, so to speak. More in common with the Greek gods than the omnipotent God of Christianity. Flawed in her judgment and yet completely unfathomable to our minds. We still don't know much about her that couldn't be taken from context clues inside the game or novels, but this cinematic spells it all out. Elune reminds me a lot of Liliad or the Lady from Warhammer Fantasy. Another side note, if you ever feel bad how Blizzard is wasting their lore and story, then just ask a Warhammer Fantasy fan how they feel about end times. Makes you feel instantly better. While I'm not sure how to feel about having more information about Elune, it sort of demystifies her and can lead to her being less interesting later in the story. This cinematic was honestly pretty good, and I can't really see where the usual complaints of good animation, voice acting and music, but the writing ruins it all, come from. I do have to question some people's understanding of the story though. How could you with a straight face say that Elune burned the tree, or Sylvanas will not face justice because Elune said so? Some people even ask for Deus Ex Machina, such as Elune dousing Tertasil from flames, when Elune has been very established as not being able to do anything of sort. I'd argue that the cinematic is so well done that you could even come to the same conclusion as I have without even reading any of the quests and having been skipping all the cutscenes in Shadowlands with just little pondering on your own. It spells everything out so much that if it was any more to the point, it will poke out your eye. Thanks for watching everyone, and come back next time when I talk about why the Nath regime reveal is the best thing ever.